Hey y'all, it's Laura, and welcome back to a new series called Budget Scrapbooking. And the way this series is going to work is we're going to explore some low-cost options for scrapbooking. And for me, that means picking a 12 by 12 paper pad. I'm going to be using this one, which is Paige Evans Whimsical, because it has a lot of icons, a nice bright open color scheme, and cut aparts in the paper pad. So it does not have to be a giant paper pad by any stretch of the imagination. I think this one only has 30 some odd pages in it. Not too bad. If you have a smaller paper pad, that will work as well. You won't need to use all of the papers inside. But those are the qualifications I would use when choosing a paper pad for this series if you want to join in. Now, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be making some DIY embellishments from this paper pad and then scrapping with them. So putting together a small kit and then creating 4 to 5 layouts with that kit. So I hope you enjoy this little series, and let's head over to the desk to see what we're going to be working on today. This is the last layout using my budget scrapping kit. We are doing a 9x12 layout using cardstock as a background because I have this nice big section of that rainbow paper from the Whimsical paper pad to use for the base of my design. I am going to use a little bit of the scraps left over from this lovely kind of a falling hearts pattern that I really liked, and you will have seen the rest of this falling hearts paper in budget scrapping layout number 6. So I essentially use the offcuts, the 3-inch offcut from that 9x12 background to make borders for this 9x12 layout. Now I'm going to be creating a column layout. Now the last layout was column designed as well, but it's a very different version of it. And this one just has a very simple 2-column design. I am going to have my photos in the right side with all of the beautiful background that I'm creating. And on the left side, I'm going to create a just kind of decorative column. And this is just a few different ways that you can use the same design to make very different looking layouts. And it's one of the things that I want to do this year is to not necessarily remake my go-to design videos, but just give you some ideas how to take that same design and kind of extend it. How much further can you go with it? How can you make them look different, even though you're using the same simple basic designs? So for this column on the left side, and it's really just a smaller section, maybe even we could call it a decorative border on the left side more than a column. It is going to have some kind of sketchy lines to put those little circles on top of, and these circles were cut out from the cut apart sheet in this paper pad. So just about everything comes from the paper pad. I think I did bring in some little heart stickers maybe at the end, but that was it. And that's only just because I kind of got a little bored with this kit. This is now the 7th layout that I made with it, which I'm really impressed with because I only intended to make 4. And so I ended up making 7 because I had so much still to use and so much left of the paper pad too. Those paper pads can go a really long way if you use them entirely. If you use them to fussy cut all the bits and pieces out, you can use them as a whole kit unto themselves, like I did with this series. I do hope you've enjoyed this series. It's been a lot of fun for me. It was definitely a challenge, but I also have really enjoyed kind of pushing myself to step outside of my DIY kits for a little while and try to pull in some of those collections that I have sitting in my stash. So I want to focus on those quite a bit this year. I think I'm going to be focusing on collections rather than DIY kits because I want to kind of dig into those and get them used up. I do have a purging video for you that's not quite done editing, but it is going through collections and how to kind of decide what to keep and what to get rid of from your collections. I will tell you that is a hard one for me, and that's why I have put it till the very end because it's the most time consuming part of this purging process for me in going through my stash and really making big cuts in what I had. I really had to think very intentionally about what I wanted to keep, what I was going to use. And I think that for me, that hard part was looking at those collections and going, oh, I don't really want to go through all of the individual bits and pieces in each collection.
And I do, but I did find a fairly quick way to get through them. And so I will share that with you when I have some time to edit that video. It was quite long. So I'll have to edit it down a little bit to make it a bit more watchable, just a little bit. Sometimes making decisions is hard, and that's okay. But if you go just step by step, take your time, you can get through the process faster than you think. You just have to set some rules and guidelines for yourself and then stick to them. Now, I am adding some glue behind all of my bits and pieces because I am finding, living in the southern part of the United States, that it's so humid here all year long that I just need it. My double-sided tape, I've tried so many brands of double-sided tape and none of them work long-term. They all fail over time. The glue just loses its stickiness, its ability to stick, and it just doesn't work anymore. And I've had even less success with tape runners. So I've given up on tape runners entirely. I've even tried some that are like, oh, we're permanent. It's a permanent tape runner. I've tried them and have not had success with them long term where I live. And so that's why I have just decided to go ahead and start using a little bit of glue as well, especially on elements like heavier elements, like a DIY embellishment that has several layers, right? So these little circles that I have here, I don't necessarily need to. They're just paper to paper. They'll probably stay. But if I have something like my photos, which have, paper behind them, they're a little bit heavier and they don't always stay. They're also a larger element that doesn't always stay. I will come in off camera though and add glue behind all of these little enamel dots that I'm using. And again, these were not in the kit. But for me, I got to the very end and I was just determined to make as much use of the paper that I had already cut into. So these last two layouts really were not planned as part of this budget scrapping kit, but I decided to go ahead and do them because I wanted to use up the paper scraps that I had left over from the first 5 layouts. And so that's why you got a couple bonus layouts out of this one. Tomorrow, I have a flip through of all of the layouts I made with the budget scrapping kit, as well as all of the layouts that I made in addition to the budget scrapping kit, since I think we started this in October. So a few months of design team layouts for Cocoa Vanilla, and then the 7 layouts I made with the budget scrapping kit. And that's about what I've gotten up to since October, because I took off the entire month of December unintentionally. I guess I was busy because I didn't find the time. So for this layout, I wanted to do a nice big focal point right next to my photos, keep all my clustering very simple. And so I really just did one big cluster under my photos using a lot of the florals that I fussy cut from the patterned papers in this whimsical paper pad. And then if you're unfamiliar, I fussy cut a bunch of icons from this paper pad, and this is about what's left. As I just am pulling in some of these beautiful florals, but this is about what's left, and I cut out a whole page of each of these icons. So I think I did a pretty good job using those up, and I'll have some bits and pieces left over for the next time I pull out Whimsical to use. And I'm trying to decide what to do for March, if I want to grab another paper pad, if I just want to pick a one of my collections that I have in my stash and just use that for the month of March. We'll see. I have not yet decided. It's growing very quite close to March, and I haven't made a decision yet. So I'll have a think about it and see what I can come up with. But this layout was so fun. It came together really, really quickly. Again, this is another 30-minute layout that I just put together really fast. And honestly, this kit was so much fun. I had so much fun with it. I think that it really did push me outside of my creative zone of what I'm used to playing with. And I've just really enjoyed it. So I might do another one. I might grab another paper pad and see what we can do with it. Or I may grab one of my collections that already has things fussy cut for me. That way that I don't have to do that right now, because time is not on my side at the moment. So that may be my choice. We'll see where we go. I'll let you know in March, but this layout is almost done, believe it or not. I have this lovely decorative column on the left side. Again, those are just circles that were from the cut apart. And I think I punched them out with my 1-inch circle punch from the cut apart. And then I have some enamel dots, and then I'll also fill in the spaces with Nuvo drops at the very end. And then on the right side, we have our lovely leftover paper scraps as a background. And then I've used some florals behind a beautiful scalloped design there, which also came from the cut apart page in the Whimsical paper pad. And then these word phrases at the bottom also were fussy cut from the paper pad. So as you can see, this was an excellent of fussy cuttable papers, of background papers, of cut apart papers, and that's really what you want to look for with a paper pad, is to have a good selection of pattern papers inside of that paper pad to make sure that those are very usable if you're going to make a kit like this. But I do think this was a great way to save a little money on a kit and not have to buy 100 packs of embellishments in order to get enough to play with, because I was able to make 7 layouts from this one paper pad without buying anything additional. I didn't have to go, you didn't even have to go into the stash that I have of Whimsical and use the embellishments I've already purchased. I just used a paper pad and a couple of things on my desk just here at the end where I kind of got a little bored and decided to go for it. I did add some journaling strips here. This is just using the tiny little 1/4 inch offcut for my basil white cardstock. And you get like a little label on the side. And so I will trim that off and then use the back side of that, which is blank, for these little journaling strips. It works out great. Coming in with my scattering and splattering. For the scattering, of course, I did use some enamel dots. And then for the splattering, I used some gold and black, I think. Yes, gold and black Nuvo drops in between those enamel dots and around my giant floral cluster. But that's about it for this one, guys. I do think that I considered, yes, I used some gold on the left side. I didn't really use very much, if any, on the right because you weren't going to be able to see it. That's it for this one, guys. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, bye y'all.